So we've been calling RV parks pretty much all morning, and we're in a dilemma right now because this motorhome is 24 years old. And of course, we've heard this story, I think a good amount of times from all the other RVers that we've seen on YouTube where they've had trouble getting into RV parks because of the age of their motorhome. Now, what we're finding is that we don't have trouble getting into the parks. It's how long you can actually stay in the parks. So when you want to do a monthly stay, most of these parks, they want your RV to be no older than 10 to 15 years. And that's, I think, for a few reasons. I actually haven't gotten a clear answer on this as of yet, but to me, I think from an insurance and a liability standpoint, that might be why a lot of these parks are saying that. Of course, most people say that it's because of the aesthetics of the park, but everyone knows there are plenty of RVs that are 20 plus years old that still look like they can hang with the new RVs of today. So yeah, it's a little, I don't want to say frustrating, because in my mind, we were going to be doing a lot of traveling over the winter anyways, going to different RV parks. But, you know, when we started thinking about the trip a little bit more, we're like, maybe it might be nice to stay in a campground for a few months at a time, especially in the winter. So that way we're not driving around so much. But considering we're going to be in BC and in the lower mainland, and probably going over to Vancouver Island, it doesn't really get that cold. So there's probably going to be little to no snow whatsoever. And going from, a park to another park that's, let's say, 45 minutes to an hour and a half away, wouldn't be that bad in my mind. So I'm trying to figure out what's the best option right now. But yeah, there aren't a lot of options if we're going to look at doing monthly stays. So I think now is probably a better time than any to do a proper video on exactly how we've been doing our travel up until this point, and honestly how we are going to continue doing our trip for the remainder of the season and potentially going into the entire winter. So the platform that we're using right now is called Northern Stay. Now, this is very similar in the sense to something like 1,000 Trails in the United States, but this is pretty much strictly Canada. And I say strictly Canada, but that's not entirely correct. There are probably right now, from the last time that I checked, like 3 to 4 campgrounds that are in like Washington State and Alaska. So they are mostly Canada, with a few memberships that are still in the northern states, and of course in Alaska where you're deep in the north. So the way that they run their membership is different from 1,000 Trails, that's for sure. They have a lifestyle membership, which is essentially a one-time fee. As of right now, I think it's about 5,000 Canadian, and then you pay monthly for maintenance. You get access to all of their campgrounds, which as of right now, I think, let's just pull this up. It's roughly about 75 or so. Let's see if that number is accurate. Okay, 88 parks right now. And this spans literally right across the country, with a good concentration of them being in Ontario, Quebec, and then Alberta and BC. So there are a decent amount of campgrounds. Canada is very wide.
What are you saying?
Not saying anything.
You're saying something.
To travel from end to end, and it's not like the States where you can go up, down, east, west, and be in different states, and you have a lot more flexibility in terms of how you travel. When you're going through Canada, it's either you're in southern Ontario and southern Quebec, and then you get out to the East Coast, and you have some major cities there. But there's a lot of Canada that are just like there's nothing. And so, yes, there are campgrounds that are not a part of this network that you can go stay at, which is exactly what we've been doing. But it's just a little bit more interesting, because when we were coming up through the States, when we initially bought this RV, we were able to stay at a bunch of different campgrounds through Thousand Trails. And I think right now they have well over 200. So very well built out, but they've been around for much longer. So very good option if you're traveling through the States. And honestly, I mean, like Northern States, it's new, but I think over, realistically the next couple of years, it'll probably become a lot more robust in terms of the offering that they have for RVers and campers to travel throughout their network. So I'll tell you how we've done it so far. So right now we have the seasonal membership, and they only sell a certain amount per season, because the way that their campgrounds are in the network they are already privately owned by other RV park owners. Whereas if you compare it to something like Thousand Trails actually owns all of their campgrounds. And they also have Encore Resorts, which is, I believe, the sister company to Thousand Trails. So this is different in that sense, where they are partnering with existing campgrounds. With Northern Stay, they're setting aside a certain amount of sites at their campground for Northern Stay members. In some cases, like this is 10 RV sites in a campground that maybe has potentially 100. So there's, in a lot of cases when we've been looking at options to book, we're seeing, hey, like there is not a lot of availability for certain campgrounds. So I'm sure that this is going to expand over time, but this is essentially what we've been doing. So we'll do like a week at a time or 2 weeks at a time in a campground in Northern Stay. We'll jump out of the network, stay a couple of days at a private campground, do a harvest host, and then once we've stayed 7 days out of the network, then we can go back in for about 21 days total as of right now. So it's very cost effective when you're doing a lot of traveling. We paid, I think, roughly about $2,600, and so that gives us nationwide campgrounds. It gives you all of their premium parks as well too, and that's what we've done so far. And I think what we're going to do is actually add on their Winter Explorer package as well, because they have a few campgrounds that are out in BC that are part of the Winter Explorer package. It's not a lot, realistically, it's like 4. So that will essentially allow us to stay at one of these parks for 2 weeks at a time, and then come out of the network, go somewhere else, somewhere relatively close for 2 to 3 weeks, and then jump back in the network. And so when we're thinking about the longer term stays that we are trying to do at this point, and work around our older vehicle, that's probably going to be the best option, where at least it doesn't feel like we're moving all the time, and we still also get to stay for a good amount of time. So the last campground that we were at in Winnipeg, that was 2 weeks, and honestly that felt like a long time, even though in reality it was only 2 weeks, but 2 weeks definitely does feel like a good amount of time. And I'm really curious to see how we feel about it when the weather's a little bit colder. But it's been something that's been on our minds, and like, how are we going to navigate this, especially in the wintertime. So we'll see. Anyways, but that's sort of where the thought process is now, and how we've been managing this trip so far. So if you're getting into RVing and you're in Canada, or you're in the States and you're coming through Canada, definitely check out Northern Stay. They as of right now, they again still have the lifestyle memberships that are available. They also have a getaway pass, which is like $1,000 for 30 nights, and relatively and speaking frankly, like that's not bad, because again, like most campgrounds up in Canada can be anywhere from like 50 a night to 150 a night. It just depends on where you are. So that could run you, close to over, $1,500, $2,000 if you're thinking about 30 days worth of camping. So, and that runs for their core on season, so May to October. Anyways, so yeah, that's what we're doing now. I think it's going to be something that we potentially stick with long term. We've been talking about upgrading to the lifestyle membership and seeing if that's something that we want to do. They are giving people the ability to resell these memberships as well. So that's another thought on our mind, is that, hey, we pay $5,000 up front, but that gives us camping like year round pretty much, and then we could essentially sell it if we decide that we don't want to do RVing full time anymore. So yeah, anyways, check them out. I think it's a very, very good option if you are traveling through Canada. Okay, and just wanted to add a few more things. So just doing the math and the numbers, like, yeah, this was super cost effective using Northern Stays. So I believe their window is like May 15th to October 31st. Now, based on what we paid for the seasonal membership, it ends up being like 128 days of in-network usage during that period. And that time frame is, I think, 170 days. So if you use this membership to its full potential, you can get 128 days. And based on what we paid, it's like roughly $21 a day. Now, I might be getting the math slightly off, but it's very close to those numbers. And so, yeah, you get a lot out of these memberships. And again, it's kind of why we ended up going with it in the first place, because we knew, all right, if we wanted to try this out, let's figure out a way we could do it cost effective. And like, man, we kept getting these ads for Northern Stay, probably like 2 or 3 months before we actually started renovating the RV entirely anyway. So we were seeing it a lot, and we're like, okay, you know what, let's do it. So yeah, very, very solid option. Anyways, that's it. I'm gonna wrap the video here because I think this is enough. I'm tired. It's, if you can't tell, it's very late. And yeah, I'm still working on our Winnipeg video. It's coming out really, really good, but it's taking some time to edit. But yeah, it's gonna be a good one. Anyways, guys, if you got here, like, follow, subscribe. Yeah, I'm gonna continue putting out more content because honestly, I really enjoyed doing this, and yeah, hope you guys like it too. So if you have any questions about Northern Stay, you've seen it and you want to know more about it, what our experience has been, happy to answer any questions over email, text, whatever. And yeah, happy camping. Peace.